Money Spell Part 3. You followed along through Parts 1 and 2 and got all your materials and supplies together and are now ready to cast the spell. The first thing you need to understand is that this is not going to make you rich. I mean, anything's possible, but I personally have not known anybody to get wealthy off of a simple money candle. If you need a couple extra $100, on the other hand, then this is the way to go. I also don't continuously do them all the time. I do them maybe 3 or 4 times a year. And you may wonder why, if it works so well, I do them so infrequently. And it goes back to the law of least expectance and that third key of magic about forgetting the spell. How am I going to forget the spell if I'm constantly doing the money spell? The other thing to keep in mind is that money is a means to an end. It is not the end itself. And so if you're wanting a particular thing that you have in mind, it may be better to cast for that thing instead of the money. Before the casting of the spell, it's a good idea to take a ritual bath or shower if bath is not an option. The important thing with the ritual bath is to get into a relaxed state and visualize all the dirt and negativity coming off of you, and then draining the tub and having visualized all of that go down the drain. It's very akin to being baptized and being washed clean. Being made pure is the idea behind that. Again, this may not mean much to you consciously, but to the subconscious it is of particular significance. Ideally, you'll want to cast the spell on a Thursday in the hour of Jupiter, while the moon is in its waxing phase, and to avoid the moon being void of course. So you'll want to make sure that all your preparations and your bath have been taken before the hour of Jupiter. As I talked about in part 2, you'll want to approach the altar with an attitude of gratitude for that which you have already received. That the rite and the spell that you're performing now is just a formality. Now, you don't have to wear a robe doing the spell. You could be sky-clad, you could be, which is naked, or you could wear white, all white if possible. I mean, even if it's your underwear. But the idea behind it is to wear something that is out of the ordinary. Something that is going to signify to the subconscious that this is something to pay attention to. Now, you could wear your regular street clothes, everyday clothes, doing the spell. However, when I do magic, I like to stack the deck in my favor. If wearing my robe or going sky-clad while performing the spell is going to make a difference, no matter how slight, I'm going to take advantage of that. So now you've approached the altar with your candle on it, on top of your honey jar if you have it, and you're ready to cast the spell. So we need to cast the circle. Hopefully most of you already know how to do this. If you do not, there's a great video by Birch on his channel, and I will find it and put the link here. You don't have to have a physical circle, although it helps. Some people use salt, others use rocks, other people draw it in chalk. I use a painter's canvas cloth that I have painted Poke Runyon's design on over several months, on and off in my spare time. A big, huge 12 by 12, I think it was, cloth cost like $20. And I've seen a lot of really cool circles. If I was to do another one, I'd probably do the Solomon circle, because I've seen some really great ones out there. An idea would be to put sea salt into the paint when you're painting that circle on the cloth. That's an interesting idea that I came across. You could also use a length of rope, what they call a pocket circle. And I'll put a link to someone explaining that right here. But regardless whether you use a physical circle or not, you still have to cast the circle and define your space. And to do that, we visualize drawing a white light up through our feet, all the way up through our torso, through our arm, through our finger, as we point our thumb, which is a ceremonial dagger. If you don't have one, you can use your middle and index finger to point, and imagine just like shooting a laser beam around, out and down onto the floor, all the way around you in a clockwise circle, starting with the east and ending there as well. The color of the circle that you should be imagining should be blue or white, whitish blue. Either one. I'm comfortable with either one. Now, as I'm casting my circles, I usually perform a declaration as I'm performing that. I will say, I cast this circle in the name of the Most High, the Tetragrammaton, as a space between the worlds where all things are made possible through mine and thine will, as above, so below, as within, so without. So be it. Now, most practitioners at this point would perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. I, however, will not unless there are many distractions going on at the same time, such as a phone ringing or a dog barking or a bird chirping outside the window, something that's drawing my attention away from what I'm doing. Otherwise, instead of using a earth banishing pentagram, I will use an earth invoking pentagram. I will, however, banish at the end of the spell, but at the opening I will invoke. Now you may do the banishing ritual as you see fit, and if you deem it necessary beforehand, if you like. But you also want to invoke the powers of earth afterwards. I will also call the archangels of the quarters, and your tradition may vary upon that. The next thing I'll do is I'll walk clockwise around the inner perimeter of the circle 3 times, starting in the east. And each time I pass that point in the east, I will then perform the sign of the Emperor, and then the sign of silence followed directly afterward. To perform the sign of the Emperor, you raise your arms directly straight up till about they're at the level with your eyes, and then thrust both your arms forward while stepping forward with your left foot. The sign of silence is to raise your right index finger to your bottom lip, as if you're going to shush somebody, while stamping down with your left foot. After I've done this, I'll return to the middle of the circle, and I'll make another declaration. It's actually part of a larger invocation, but I just use this opening part. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe. Holy art thou, which nature hath not formed. Holy art thou, the vast and mighty one, ruler of the light and of the darkness. You may now light your candle and incense, and you'll want to get into a comfortable, relaxed position in front of the candle. You can either sit or kneel, whatever is comfortable and relaxing is key. You'll want to start gazing into the candle's flame. And while doing so, you'll want to call upon the spirits of Jupiter. It could be as simple as, I call upon the spirits of Jupiter to come and bless this working, bless this candle, and bless this offering that I make. In the name of Jupiter, the most benevolent, so mote it be. Do this 3 times. Now we get to the fun part. What we want to do at this point is imagine already having the money, while simultaneously trancing out and gazing into the candle flame. We want to get all of our senses involved in this. Do you think that maybe the 5 senses may have some correspondences to the 5 points on the pentagram? Something to think about. So you'll want to imagine holding the money. Physically, imagine what that feels like. You want to try to smell the money. You want to see the money. You want to hear it as you're folding the bills. Imagine what that sounds like while you have it. In your left hand, preferably. Maybe even placing it into your left pocket. Provided you're wearing something that has pockets, you may not be. And yes, you even want to taste the money. Ugh. But instead of, be glad that you got that nasty taste. Be happy about it. Be thankful for it. And while you're doing this, you want to direct your visualizations into the candle flame. Now, staring into the candle flame itself is very trance-inducing. And this is what you want. Now, don't force it, because when you're forcing things, you're getting out of a relaxed state. So you don't want to force it. Just know that the energy is going into the candle flame while you're visualizing it in the candle flame. And while you're doing these visualizations, you'll want to get in touch with that emotion of gratitude and positivity. The simultaneous emotions is necessary because that is the force. Okay? All that is going into the candle flame, to the other side, to the subconscious. And you'll want to do this with unwavering focus. Now, at this point, I typically start speaking in tongues, which is something that I'm going to cover in the Words of Power program. It's not necessary, but it provides an extra boost. Now, after a while of staring into and focusing on the candle flame, some things may begin to happen. Perhaps the candle flame flares up a little bit. Don't be surprised if that happens. It's all good. But your vision may start playing tricks on you. Perhaps it's getting blurry, in and out of focus. Your eyes may start watering and you'll start seeing other optical illusions. Typically for me, I'll start seeing an aura form around the candle itself as if it's glowing. Again, this is a good thing because it symbolizes to me that the candle is being charged with my intention and my visualizations. After about 10 or 15 minutes of this, you may get the feeling that it is done, and now it's time to end the spell. We want to stand up, we want to thank Jupiter, we want to thank the spirits, and then respectively instruct them to complete the task without delay and then return to their homes and habitations from which they came without causing mischief or harm to anyone. We are then going to walk the perimeter of the circle counterclockwise, and when we come to the east, we want to grab like an imaginary curtain on both sides of us and pull it shut behind us. We want to do this 3 times as well. We then perform the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram and then close the circle. We do this by tracing the circle in the same fashion that we opened it, except we're closing it. Instead of putting a light down on the ground, we're now pulling it up into ourselves and down into the ground through our feet. I close this circle in the name of the Most High, the Tetragrammaton, and return to the mundane world from which I came. This working is now complete. And then I'll rap a knock once on the altar, just like a court gavel. And that's it. That's the money spell. We just let the candle burn all the way down. Now, if you have to go somewhere or leave it unattended, it's okay to put out the candle. Don't assume your candle's just going to be fine. Things can happen, especially when working with magic. So you want to make sure that your candle is attended at all times. Fire safety. Certainly practice it. Now, if you do have to put it out, it's okay to come back to it and relight it. Just recast your circle, focus on it for a little bit, and then close your circle. You're fine. It's okay. It is best, though, if you let it burn for as long as possible. So when you're planning your spell, take that into consideration. And after you've done all this, the only thing left for you to do is to forget about it. So don't keep expecting the money, just let it go, and it will come. This will probably be the last video I make until I'm ready to release Words of Power. So, until then, take care.